Welcome to another episode of the Jaycast Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jay,
and Jay number 2.
Guys, we got some good news to share with you guys. We're starting another channel. It seems that we're starting to pick up a little bit with some of the stuff that we're doing. We're getting pretty good feedback outside of the audio, which we are working to fix. As you guys can tell,
there's no echo.
There's no echo, but the audio is not as good as it could be. The new podcast is going to be called the Jaycast Podcast. That is the channel we want you guys to follow us on. We'll put the link down in the description, and we'll connect it to this current channel. And moving forward, we're going to upload everything to the Jaycast Podcast.
So make sure to subscribe, like, and comment.
Yep. We might put this episode on this channel, and then
on both channels. That way people get directed to the new channel.
Right. What do people call that in IT? DNS canonical. This channel will be the canonical name, and then it'll point you to the
pointer, to the new.
Yep. So what's good, man? What you been up
to? Nothing much, man. Just working. Like you just mentioned right now, video editing, trying to produce some new content for the audience. But other than that, just working. That's all we ever do. Just work.
Actually, I wish I could work more and get paid more. You know what I mean? But
I wish I had more time to work, man.
I wish I could make 2 meals. And then, and then, cause dude, let me tell you something, man. There is money out there, dude. There is money to be made, dude.
And not only that, man. Sometimes, I wish if it was possible, because sometimes you surround yourself with people that they waste their time, and I wish sometimes I could just absorb their time and get more than 24 hours. But of course, it's not possible, right?
The freak
just absorb their time, bro. The life force.
No. I don't want. I'll pray to God that we can manage time better, which I think we do a pretty good job. Working out. I ran all 5 days this week, 3 miles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey guys, by the way, that's another topic that me and Jay actually it's really dearly to us, which is working out, right?
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that as well.
And just overall, health, but just self-improvement.
Yeah,
I think it's huge. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, last episode, we told you guys I'm reading Atomic Habits. Fantastic.
How's that going?
Pretty good. I haven't had time to read. I thought I was going to finish the book by this week, to be honest, but I've been so busy doing other stuff.
Yeah. Have you applied anything of that book in your life?
Yes, dude, yes. So one of the things that they talk about is if you want to establish good habits, first start with a system that gives you guardrails.
Yeah.
And you operate within that system. You operate within that system long enough, you no longer need the guardrails, right? So for example, you say to yourself, man, I eat out for lunch all the time, but I don't have time to cook. Well, what if you season your food on a Sunday night, right? Then, you put it in the air fryer, boom. Cool. 5 days a week, you no longer have to worry about nothing else, and you make a habit out of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like creating a schedule and having, for example, your phone keeps reminding you, and it comes to the point where it just becomes a habit, like you just said. We no longer depend on something guardrailing you, you said.
Like training wheels, right? Yeah. I think that's where I'm at so far with the book. I'm sure it's a phenomenal book.
I still have to get that book, man.
I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you.
Thank you, man.
Remind me. I've done everything. I went to the bank for the first time. I don't usually go to the bank, to be honest. I do everything online.
Really? What are you doing? Running for some money because of the SVB thing?
Bank run? No, I didn't do no bank run. Yeah. I did a bank run to run to the bank and withdraw money and then come home, but there wasn't I wasn't part of the bank run.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. The whole SVB situation.
That is nuts. What have you done? Some read up on that a little bit?
Just a little bit. I mean, all that I've seen is that they kind of. Did they go bankrupt or something, or? Yeah, so
from what I remember, from what I did some research on it. So apparently, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, it's a regular bank, like Bank of America, like Chase, like anything else. What that means is that the bank is FDIC insured, okay? What that means is that if you have less than $250,000, for all y'all broke people out there, if y'all only have $250,000 because y'all broke, you guys are going to be fine. The FDIC is going to have your back. You guys are going to be made whole. You have nothing to worry about. I don't even think somebody should have told those people that there shouldn't have been a need for a bank run because supposedly you're going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, someone did tell some people because I heard people were shorting the stocks.
Dude,
so someone knew. So they saw it going downhill.
All it takes is somebody to say yo, I can't withdraw my money, and that's it.
Yeah.
So then you go to the bank. So the problem is this, right? The problem is as follows. There are companies who do their business through SVB. So they hold millions of dollars within the bank, right? And they operate that way. They pay their people, they buy more assets, all that stuff. They do in investments. Those businesses are the ones who got hosed. Okay? Those are the first businesses. Those are the first people. The second people are people, if you own stock the SVB is publicly traded. If you own SVB stock, that stock dropped from like 60 to like 70% this week.
Wow.
So you got hosed also. If you are a financial institution and your portfolio contains SVB stocks, you guys got hosed too, depending on the percentage of the exposure that you guys had. So it seems that the regular person is going to be okay, right? And everything else is in limbo for everybody else.
Damn. So are you trying to say that the high risk takers, like a business owner, gets wiped out the situation?
Technically, yeah, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to get bailed out. They're not going to bail them out directly. They're going to bail out SVB. What I don't know, though, is how they were in that position in the first place.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it that deep.
The only thing I had was apparently, and this is just speculation here, they bought bonds, right? Long-term bonds, right? At like 1% or something like that.
Yeah.
But the bonds went up to 5%, and they couldn't cash them out because they were long-term bonds. So because they couldn't cash them out to meet whatever demands that just showed up out of nowhere, guys, we're not financial experts. We're just trying to tell you this how we read it. Because these things happen, they're not able to cash out. So from what I read is the government, the local state government of California, I think, is gonna say, yo, before we do any bailing out, you guys gotta sell whatever assets you have. Okay? Once you sell those assets, make your investors whole. We're gonna take care of the bank, the people in the bank, $250K and less.
Yeah.
And you make everybody else whole. And for people who aren't, who are not aware, some companies do their payroll through SVB. So even if you don't have money in SVB, you might not have gotten paid if things didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So I think they did the good thing. I think they should have done. They should have closed down the bank, which I think they did.
Yeah, they probably transitioned over to another bank.
Or to prevent bank runs. Like, yo, no, the bank is closed. The bank is closed. Your money's safe. If you're $250K less, if you're a business owner with more than $100 million in the bank, well, guys, we only insure up to $250K. Like,
yeah.
Which is funny because I thought, I thought businesses would have had a different type of insurance.
I was going to say that I think there might be something different applied to businesses versus like the FDIC. I think is maybe for personal use. I may be wrong. We have to look into that, but we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, but I just thought it was really interesting. People were like, this is the worst collapse since 2008.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we got to find out why this collapsed in the first place. Was it because of bad investments? Was it, and Silicon Valley Bank is a venture, from what I read, is a venture capital firm that specializes in funding startup companies, big tech startup companies. So I would assume from 2019 with the whole bug thing happening to 2021 where everybody was going crazy for tech, they probably went crazy, taking crazy risks. And now that tech is slowing down, now they're starting to feel the pain.
The burn.
Yeah, it's crazy too because people were talking about how, well, if this is happening to SVB, it's happening again, just like 2008. Sell all your shares. Sell all your Bank of America shares. Sell your Chase shares. Sell everything. Hurry. And that's causing a lot of banks to just lose value in the stock market. What do you think? You think it's a buying opportunity? We're not financial investors. Let's be very clear about that.
So I think what's going to happen is what happened with Wachovia Bank. I think another bank's going to acquire them.
They would have to.
Yeah, they're going to get absorbed. It was funny. I saw a post recently that someone put asking Elon Musk to buy the bank and make it a digital bank, and he responded, "Oh, that might be an option." So that was funny. But yeah, that might be something, right? Maybe one of these tech companies might purchase the bank and make it like a digital bank or something.
I always feel like Elon Musk is one of those. You ever play Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
And you're in the game,
but
because you know it's a game, you could do whatever you want. Yeah. I feel like Elon Musk
he's at that point, right?
Yeah, he's like, I can do whatever I want.
What should I do next? Yeah, should I acquire this bank?
But I think that's what's gonna happen. I think either Chase or a huge bank is gonna buy them, and the government's gonna be like, "Yo, buy them, do us this one solid, bro. We're gonna go easy on you with regulations or taxes or whatever. Please do us this solid."
Yeah, I mean they had I think it was 200 billion assets under them.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I was looking that up. I think Wachovia, I think they were 300 billion, and I think Silicon Valley was 200 billion. So it was like the second biggest failure of a bank in history of the USA. So it's pretty big.
Yeah, but I kept looking to find out why that happened in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, what did they? Because at least with the other banks, you can say, oh, they gave out not good loans to people who did
Yeah,
and
during 08.
and you can kind of pinpoint exactly what happened and why. But here,
And they're speculating that other banks might fail as well. So
that's what they were saying. I don't think so. So I was listening to a guy talk, and he said that everything is going down right now because whoever has positions, right, in SVB, they're selling those positions whenever they could, right?
Yeah.
Whoever has positions in other banks, if you're a hedge fund manager and you see that everything is happening, the prudent thing to do, right, would be to sell, right? Or not.
Yeah, to reallocate the assets and sell out. Yeah, definitely.
Because this guy said, like, yo, you're gonna have a hard time explaining to your shareholders at the end of the quarter. This is not me saying. I wish I came up with this because this makes a lot of sense to me. At the end of the quarter, which is March 21st or March 31st or whatever, you're gonna have to explain to your shareholders why you're holding to what seems to be toxic assets in the form of financial institutions that were just dropping throughout this whole thing. Yeah. So people are shook. So they got to limit their exposure to all things bank.
Wow.
But I'm not a financial expert. You know who Tucker Carlson is?
Yeah, I do.
Yo, I saw him on a podcast. You saw that podcast?
Yeah, actually I did, yeah.
What you thought?
I learned a lot, man. This guy, first of all, I never knew that he used to be part of CNN on his, the beginning of his career.
Yeah, I think it was called Crossfire.
Yeah. Like makes me wonder, was CNN like part of the left? I mean, part of the right at one point?
No. I think what Crossfire was, it was like the opposing viewpoint.
Okay.
So they had him there, and he had like a bow tie or something. That was way before I got into politics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like 2002 or something like that. But the Tucker Carlson on that podcast and the Tucker Carlson on Fox News, they look like two
different people, right?
Yeah, and you're like, well, so here's the thing. He still has the same values that he has on Fox News, but it seems like he was more liberal.
Yeah, and not only that, he spoke about different topics that he doesn't usually speak in Fox.
Right,
that was another thing.
Right. And he talked about... It always goes.
He's really knowledgeable, man, that guy.
100%. And then he was talking about how Andrew Tate... So the thing about Andrew Tate, and I think he said the same thing that we kind of agree in, he said Andrew Tate says things that, are not great, but he also says things that I would tell my son. That's what he said in the podcast. He was like, he says, hey, do better for yourself.
Yeah, I think he was talking about like what's the message behind everything, right? Behind everything that he's saying, and I think he's saying that he's basically saying is to self-improve.
You have value. Carry yourself like a person who has value.
Yeah.
Work to become a person who has value and contribute something to society.
I mean,
I'll tell my son that. So I think he made a lot of good points, and he talked about how he loved his wife. And how
that was really interesting. How his wife compliments him in different aspects of his life. That was really interesting.
Obviously you want to hear what the wife has to say. She could be like, "This guy's lying. He beats me all the time." I don't think he does. He has 4 kids, 4 dogs. You know what I mean? But says he loves his wife. Talks about how beautiful and mysterious women are and things like that. And I'm like, this is not the guy. Like, if I didn't know anything about Tucker Carlson and all I got from him or knew about him was what we were told in the media and social media, we'd be like, oh, this guy's a right-wing nut job.
Yeah.
You sit down and talk with him, and he's like, oh, this guy's...
It's like a family man.
He's a family man. Yeah, he's a family man. And he has a lot of insight, because he was in Iraq.
Yeah, that's another thing. Wow, that's crazy.
Not in war. He was a journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I liked about what he said? I don't know how much of the podcast he watched, but I liked something he said that, what's the word I'm looking for? Admitting, like, one of the biggest regrets that he had was supporting the Iraq war.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that, like, history is, it kind of, like, is not told correctly, if you think about it. Because at that point, we were just fighting, the war on terrorism and stuff. And I think everyone was angry about the part of September 11.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of confusion during that part.
If you supported the war, if you're like a regular person and you supported the war in Iraq, during that time, during 2004, 2003, 2004, you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. We all were told this had to do with 9/11 and those weapons of mass destruction. We were straight up lied to.
Yeah.
This was before social media. This was before any of that stuff. So all we had to go by was what we were told by the
You know what's crazy too? Like when that happened, I have a couple of friends actually that were telling me that they joined the war because they lost family members during that time.
Oh,
there was a lot of vengeful participants
yeah.
during that stuff, because people forget is that there's a lot of casualties that happen and stuff, and when people get wiped out, there's obviously sons and daughters that are left over. That's when revenge comes, right?
That's the thing about war too. Like a lot of people, like the whole thing with Ukraine, a lot of people think that Ukraine is like good versus evil, right? Like just like they're selling it to us as good versus evil, right? But the thing about that, the Jaycast says this emphatically: Russia invading the Ukraine is wrong. Okay, guys, come on, like we don't have to.
Any country you're invading, any country is wrong.
All right, so let's get that out of the way before we get accused of being whatever, man. Anyways, Russia invading the Ukraine or people just frothing at the mouth to go to war, bro, and they're like, oh, this is evil, we're gonna fight back and blah. Guys, if you haven't, watch the movie called Graveyard of the Fireflies. I don't know if that's a Miyazaki film. That depicts the other part of war that nobody talks about. Parents being lost, kids being lost, kids saying goodbye to their parents, thinking that their parents are gonna come back.
Trauma as well.
Only to find out that the parents are never gonna come back, all because of a war that they had nothing to do with. You know what I mean? We should be ready to fight and stuff, but we should always try our best to put peace first, because the people who really get screwed are the people who had nothing to do with the policy that led to these wars in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
They want to sell this. They'll sell you everything like, oh, Russia's getting rocked and we're gonna go to war, and they show you these cool jet planes fighting and these what they don't show you, the unsexy part of war, what they don't show you is like families destroyed, ways of life ruined forever, cities completely leveled. That's not sexy. That's bad PR for war hawks, and they won't show you that. They won't show you all the people who were affected by it. They won't show you all the people whose lives were completely changed. All they show you is like, Russia's this, and we're gonna stop them, and we're gonna fight, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I know that actually Tucker was talking about how that there's two major players right now, right? Well, actually three, but there's China, which has the population control. I mean, they have the biggest population in the world, right? Well, actually, India actually overpassed them.
Yeah.
But in that Russia has a but has the majority of the landmass. So if they were to join forces, I mean,
you have the people with the landmass.
With the landmass, yeah. So it's like comes to a point where they have the resources, they have the people to back that up as well, and so it comes to a point where U.S. might actually lose the power of being the decision maker of the world.
Short-sightedness, bro. Complete short-sightedness.
And which we actually talked about. What episode was that? Was it episode
like 2, I think?
4? About bipolar.
Oh, unipolar. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
we spoke about that.
Right now, what the United States says, every country follows.
Yeah.
But if China starts laying out peace plans for the Ukraine and Russia listens, if Russia listens to China and backs off a little bit, and now Russia and China have this thing where they're together, and people are like, well, these guys seem like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Whatever they say goes.
It goes from being a unipolar world to a bipolar world, and now if countries like, I don't know,
Cuba, Venezuela.
They're too close to the United States. We won't let that happen. But Kazakhstan, right?
Yeah.
Let's say an example, Kazakhstan. They'll be like, hey, we're going to join with these dudes because they know what they're doing. What's the United States going to do? And then, people join. It's like, all right, what you going to do about it? Now you have a bipolar world, dude. I think it was short-sightedness of the United States, specifically of Boris Johnson. I don't know if you heard, but Russia was willing to come to the table for a ceasefire to negotiate. You know what I mean? They were ready to come to negotiate and say, look, we're ready to stop this war if, whatever those demands were. Maybe they were reasonable, maybe they were unreasonable. Boris Johnson flew to Ukraine and said, nah, we're not negotiating with them. Like, dude, what the freak, man? If your son was there, you'd be willing to negotiate.
Yeah.
If your daughter was there, you'd be willing to negotiate.
Well, why do you think he said that?
Because, bro, and I'm saying that in this, I am saying, because these guys are out here making money from the freaking military-industrial complex. They're getting kickbacks from these defense contractors, so it behooves them to continue to push the war forward. That's why. Wow. And their kids aren't over there. That's why. That's why they're doing that. You guys are scumbags. Just plain and simple scumbags.
Yeah.
You know, like, how difficult could it be to say, all right, Russia, stop. We'll promise that the Ukraine won't join NATO if you promise to not invade the Ukraine, leave Ukraine neutral, and we're good. How difficult is that? How many people have to die for that?
Yeah, there's too much money that's being made.
Yeah, man. People are out here making money, man. People are out here making money. People are out here getting screwed. Where we keep sending hundreds of billions of dollars over to the Ukraine. You know what I mean? And then, I don't know, man. I get annoyed at this because the whole thing of making war seem like a movie. People think war is Call of Duty, bro. It's not Call of Duty. There is no respawn. At best, you get the gulags. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing that they mentioned in that podcast was that when he was over there in Iraq, that he was actually getting shot at, right?
Yeah.
So, that was pretty crazy, man. So I think that kind of like changed his whole perspective of war, right? Because he thought that because there was it mercenaries or was it the U.S. military that was over there?
He said it was mercenaries first defending the building.
Yeah, and they required them to hold like AK-47s, right?
Yeah.
Which is insane. But even though he had mercenaries looking after him and stuff, like at this point, I think after the shooting, no one came to see what happened, right? So they just like
they're like, oh, that's crazy, fam.
Yeah,
sorry.
Take care of yourself, which makes it seem that even though we go to other countries and we think we're in control, we really aren't. Like
he did, and what he said, and I agree with him on this. He was like, the United States is not a good colonial builder, or you know what I mean. Like the United States is not a good occupier of other countries. In the case of like the Iraq War, not in the case of Japan, and we should get out of that business. And I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
The moment we got that's crazy. We got Saddam Hussein way before we caught Bin Laden. We should have been left. We should have been left that area. But
like you said, it goes back to money, right?
Yep, and this one, and we'll talk about this in the future, guys. But this is related to the poppy seeds used to make opium. That the pharmaceutical companies use
for the heroin.
Yeah, we won't talk about that in this episode. If you guys are interested, we will definitely talk about that in the next episode. But
that was in Afghanistan, right?
Afghanistan, yeah, and then we went to Afghanistan for the opium. And then we went to Iraq for the oil.
Yeah.
Two birds with one. No, I'm kidding. Two birds. No. But look, freaking, all that stuff, man. All that stuff, and people would just lie to. Right. People would just lie to. I don't know if you, speaking of podcasts, you saw Alex Jones was on the Tim Dillon podcast. Or I don't know if it was Tim Dillon. And he was talking about the January 6th insurrection. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
So, for those of you guys who don't know about the insurrection was and I use the word insurrection in quotes because the revelations that came out recently, because there we go, that's why I brought up Tucker Carlson in the first place. Apparently, what we were originally told and shown of the insurrection was like small pieces of what seems to be people just trying to break into the Capitol and climb over the building. It looked like an insurrection. Tucker Carlson got a hold, and you guys see how all this relates. Tucker Carlson got a hold of like thousands of hours worth of video, and he put it out there for people to see. And what ended up happening was that this quote-unquote insurrection showed, number one, Alex Jones, and Alex Jones was talking about this on that podcast. It showed Alex Jones with a microphone or a megaphone guys, do not burn anything down. Do not loot anything. We are not Antifa. We are better than this. Do not go into the White House. Let's go around. Let's go into the front of the White House. Donald Trump is going to be speaking there. Let's go there. Do not. Nobody showed us that.
Yeah, they never showed that. Yeah, they never spoke about anything about that.
Nobody showed us that at all. The guy with the horns, with the
the famous guy with the horns. Yeah.
Apparently, he was also on video shown being escorted around the White House by the cops, almost like a tour. It seemed like he was getting a tour.
Yeah.
And so they're showing him getting a tour, and people are like, "Oh, that's just a de-escalation method." If this is an insurrection, you got to get dealt with, right? Because you're trying to take over. You're trying to overthrow democracy.
Yeah.
Which is what they were saying. Ain't no giving you a tour. Ain't no we don't. If Russia shows up to our front gates, we're not de-escalating anything, right? So, with all that being said, they didn't show us any of this. All they were doing was showing us little tidbits of the worst parts. Probably, and Alex Jones said this, and just because I say I agree with Alex Jones on this one part does not mean I agree with him on anything else. Okay? He said some very more than questionable things about more than controversial topics. But in this case, as it relates to the insurrection, quote unquote the insurrection, they were lying. They were just showing us tidbits of it to get people afraid, so that people can be like, "Wow, man, the country, they almost overthrew democracy. This is a worse attack than Pearl Harbor." We heard the other day talking about this is attack worse than Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. So what happens to those that were arrested?
Bro, the Horn guy got 4 years in prison. Still in prison right now.
Wow.
And that video just came out. And you know, after he got the tour and after he was on the desk, they actually show him on video saying, "Guys, let's go home. We should not be here. Let's go home. Everybody calm down. Let's all go home." And that's it. Does that sound like an insurrectionist to you?
Wow, man. They made him look like a scumbag.
They made him look like a nut job. They made him look like a terrorist. Supposedly he has schizophrenia.
Okay, so they probably utilized that, as leverage to make him look crazy.
Well, they gave him 4 years in prison. He's still in prison right now. Basically, what the point of the matter is this: the media seems to have gotten exposed with the Twitter files. The media seems to have gotten exposed with this whole insurrection thing, which turned out to not be an insurrection at all. It turned out to be a regular protest with people being shown around the White House with just bad actors. That's it. Just bad actors. And anybody who says, "Well, I want you guys to be mindful of what happened during the riots 2 years ago," everybody could agree that there was protesting and that there was bad actors. And the bad actors were not associated with the protesters, at least for the mainstream media.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happened and how that story unfolds. Hopefully, justice is made, but
they'll move on.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna move on past this. They're gonna act like they didn't say anything. But, it's just like the bug. Remember what happened?
Just like the bug, just like Epstein.
Epstein, the bug, all that stuff.
Also, to go back to that podcast, I think Tucker also didn't he mention the thing that it was actually murder when they killed Epstein?
It was not self-deletion. It was a super secure prison, supposedly.
Yeah, in Manhattan. And the crazy thing is, it had to be someone with a lot of power, man, to have that pull.
Pull that off. That is scary, dude.
Yeah.
And he actually said it. Carlson was like, "Do you want to mess with a person who has enough power to take somebody out in a maximum security prison?" Well, I don't know if it was maximum security, but it was extremely secure.
Yeah.
Cameras everywhere, cells everywhere.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Depending on where you stand, you know what? I would want. I want all the smoke, but it's like, dude, be smart a little bit. You want all the smoke, you're not gonna do anything. You're gonna just get.
It seems like the media's afraid, man, to talk about that.
Afraid or controlled.
That's crazy.
That's the thing. So it's like, it'll be like, I'm the boss, right, of the news organization. I'm friends with these crooks, right, with these scumbags.
Yeah, the people on the list.
And I'll tell you, yeah, talk everything you want except this. Well, I'm your boss. Okay, you're gonna do that. And that's basically what it is. Sad to say, that's why they don't talk about, anything else. I'm surprised they started to talk about UFOs so liberally.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
You did send me that article. What was that article about?
Yeah, supposedly there was a mothership that was discovered in our not our airspace, but in our galaxy, I guess.
What? No, no. I think.
Yeah, that was the.
No, I think he said it was a possibility that it could be possible.
I thought it was a mothership.
No. If the military would have said there's a mothership in space, bro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I think he said it would be possible. That it would be possible that a mothership would be in space or in the solar system, sending probes out. I think that's what it was. I am a huge UFO researcher. You guys might not know this. I have done hours of research. You know what I mean? There's a book called In Plain Sight. I I recommend if you're interested in UFOs and if you're interested in a straight up fair assessment of the whole UFO thing, I think In Plain Sight is an absolute perfect book. The guy walks in, starts asking questions, starts researching, says, that's a little weird. That's a little weird that this crashed. Oh, believe it or not, guys, the Roswell crash didn't even happen in Roswell, New Mexico. It happened in New Mexico, but it happened, I think, north, like a couple of towns over.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So here's the thing about, and I can talk for hours. If you guys are interested in this UFO topic, I can go for hours about this, and I'll give you, a brief info. When the UFO crashed in 1947, right? What happened was this: the United States government compartmentalized each piece or each portion of the UFO, right? They would say, we don't know what this metal is. Let's subcontract Lockheed Martin for them to research it. We don't know what this engine is. Let's subcontract Boeing. We don't know what, this is. Let's subcontract, and they keep going through all, they subcontracted and compartmentalized. I said Lockheed Martin, I said Boeing. I don't know what the name of the contractors were at that time, right? And what ended up happening is, what I suspect ended up happening, and what many people suspect ended up happening is that these subcontractors actually made breakthroughs in these technologies, found out how they worked, reverse engineered them. If you look at Dr. Greer's the documentaries, he says that as a result, they mastered anti-gravitics, so they didn't need any oil.
Wow.
Yeah. So what ended up happening as a result of all this is that all these companies were able to come up with these amazing technologies, and behind the United States government and the global governments, they all made they all kind of formed their own weird pseudo government. They formed their weird pseudo government, and they have their own ships. They have their own everything with their own technology.
Is it like deep government or?
They call that the breakaway civilization.
Okay.
Richard Nolan, I think this guy's name. I read that book. He talks about how the breakaway civilization is a group of super huge companies or CEOs that managed to create this technology and expound on it and build on it and kind of slowly removing themselves from humanity. How crazy you want to get with it is up to you. Supposedly there's something called the secret space program, and how they have their own ships. And so for those of you who might be interested, the triangle ships, there's you seen the triangle UFOs?
Yeah.
Those are ours. That's ours. That is reverse engineered from UFO technology. The ring in the middle of the triangle ship, the ring is full of mercury. It has something to do with how anti-gravity works, but that ring is full of mercury, right? And it causes the ship to go up and go against gravity. I don't know the exact procedure, but that one is ours. That one can fly in the air. That one can go in space.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Didn't in World War II, didn't they find a whole bunch of blueprints and stuff like that?
So the Nazis were working on something called the Hanaboob.
Yeah.
Hanaboob. Where it was if you look at the blueprints, they look eerily to a UFO.
Yeah.
And so what some people don't know, or the Nazis had a similar Roswell event actually that occurred in one of the German forests somewhere in the 1930s. That device they were able to get, or that ship, whatever it was that was there, they were able to reverse engineer it. And the Nazis were known for advanced rocket propulsion. You know what I mean? And towards the end of the war, they were able to actually start from Germany, I think, or close to it. From Germany, sent just rocket ships to London and start bombing them. That was the first time ever that this occurred, supposedly.
That's insane.
Yeah, and supposedly it was from reverse engineered alien technology.
At that point, do you think the U.S. had interactions with UFOs, or?
A lot of pilots said they saw lights in the sky. They called them Foo Fighters at that time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the band, right? But they called them Foo Fighters, and they were. I don't know. A lot of people were saying, well, if they had if they had help from the aliens, why did they let them? Why did they let? I don't know. I can't answer that question. All I can tell you is that the aliens might have made a deal with them, and then once they saw that the war was over, the aliens kind of backed up. And people think the aliens are really advanced. I don't think they're a threat, but I don't think they're as much of a threat as people think. From the research that I've done, these aliens, the Greys, at least the Greys, supposedly they need our genetic material to make hybrids of themselves, because for whatever either they can't reproduce, or they can't something happened where they can't reproduce anymore, so they need our genetic material to be able to make hybrid versions of themselves to keep their species going.
Wow, it's insane. So like they're dependent on us.
They're dependent on us.
Wow.
And that's one way. Another thing I am hearing, bro, is like the breakaway civilization, the shadow government, these people who have this advanced technology are actually working with the aliens in exchange for if you give them humans, they give them technology.
Wow.
And the aliens like eat the humans or some wild stuff like that.
That's crazy. So like at what point do you think it's going to be public to everyone?
Well, they're trying to disclose this, right? But I think they're afraid. The disclosure. So everybody's talking about disclosure, right? Here's why disclosure is such a tricky thing to maneuver around that people don't understand. The amount of dirt that was done to keep this under wraps might lead all the way up to the assassination of Kennedy. And people think, oh, you don't know, Lee Harvey Oswald shot him. No, I think Kennedy was shot because he found something that he should not have found as it relates to this whole UFO thing. Okay? JFK, and then his brother was killed, I believe. Okay? JFK also was close with Marilyn Monroe. She overdosed on illicit substances. Come on, man.
Yeah, it is suspicious.
That's very suspicious. So I do think, as far as the UFO thing is concerned, I think there is advanced technology created by subcontractors. I think it started with, I don't know if you ever heard the story of the Grenada Treaty, where Dwight Eisenhower actually met aliens. This is wild. He met aliens, right? Back in the 50s. He met with an alien. They were like, look, from what I read, they were like, look, let us experiment on your humans, okay? Some humans, and in exchange, we'll give you some blueprints for technologies and stuff like that, okay? At first, I believe, as the story goes, President Dwight Eisenhower was like, yeah, I don't know about that, man. They were like, and then they were like, well, if you don't give it to us, we're going to talk to the Russians, and we'll give them these weapons. And you got to remember, this is the start of the Cold War.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder, like, why did they come to the United States first, if that's true?
Because I think we won the war. We were like the global power at that time.
It makes me wonder also if there's other species that are against, like the Greys, like you mentioned.
Supposedly there's like 5 of them. There's the Greys.
In Earth?
Yeah, there's the Nordics that look like white people with like blue eyes or whatever.
Oh, wow.
There's a mantis-looking thing. There's the famous reptilians. Right?
Yeah, the reptilians.
Then there are Greys that have like reptile scales. Right? So there's a whole bunch of them. As these stories continue to evolve and to be placed in the mainstream media, you guys just keep your eyes open. Things like the secret space program, I believe, was started because they were afraid of that. You know what I mean?
That's another thing. Like at that point when they were trying to negotiate with us, right? Couldn't we have like eliminated them in any way, even if before they even got to Russia or to our opposing, like
Well, you gotta remember these guys were ambassadors to, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like they showed up and then they'll send a signal to their people, like, yo, they're not cooperating with us, and they go to, but they, as the story goes, they said, yeah, sure, let's do the deal or whatever. They got weapons. The aliens were able to abduct people, but then put them back. And then the United States government was to have a list of all the people that were abducted, and these humans were not to be hurt at all, and no circumstance. As years went by, bro, they started just doing their thing, and they started kind of like going around the treaty, and they started doing weirder and weirder things to these humans, kidnapping them, all that stuff, not keeping the list, working with the Russians anyways, and taking their humans.
Do you think they achieved what they wanted?
No, and I don't know what's taking so long. That's the thing, right? You would think that an advanced species.
I think I do agree on you that maybe they aren't a big threat because
they're Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think they're a big threat because at some point, if they really wanted to, they didn't have to negotiate with us, right? Couldn't they have just like said, you know what, we're just gonna experiment on all humans and achieve our goals and then just get out of this planet or just take over? Or maybe they didn't have the resources to do that.
That's exactly it.
Since they didn't have resources, in some way they weren't a threat to the overall human society or human race.
Yeah. And I think and this is where it gets real conspiratorial. I think they need men to be docile so they don't fight back. So if they make people docile, they can keep doing whatever they want. These guys, like face to face, like one on one, like a fair one, like throwing, they're not seeing us.
Yeah,
they're not touching us.
They don't have the physical abilities.
Yeah, they're not hand to hand. No, and numbers wise too. Apparently numbers wise either. And supposedly we weren't able to take some of these UFOs down, right? So they might have some weapons and stuff, but they don't.
Yeah,
they can get brought down with like. It wasn't with guns, but like with a weird thing with like radar technology or something like that. Something with like microwave technology that could bring down these UFOs. It's crazy. So here's the crazy thing. Apparently they live for a long time, and they get like into the metaphysical world. They live for a long time. These beings, but they only live once. Like there's nothing for them after this. Human beings have something like a soul or something. That even if we're no longer here, our essence or like our soul is still.
Do they acknowledge that? You think?
Not only do they acknowledge that, they're trying to find out how to get that, what that is for them. Not to keep it for them, but like how can their species get it?
And do you think we're trying to figure out? Like I'm pretty sure we've done maybe autopsies on dead bodies of.
Yeah. So apparently.
Do you think they allowed that? Like, or do you like?
But like I told you, what they gonna do? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna show up and then do what? You know what I mean?
So it's kind of weird. It's like I'm pretty sure they came with demands, but it seems like if this is all true, couldn't we just have said, you know what, we're not like they probably sent an ambassador, but I'm pretty sure we would try to figure out where are they, right? Like where's the mothership or whatever?
Yeah. No. So what happened was we wanted the technology, right?
Do you think we obtained all their technology, or little by little they're giving us?
We obtained enough, but I think and this is from what I read, Dwight Eisenhower, the level of secrecy that was happening was so deep that eventually the president lost control of what was going on. So like there was all these compartmentalizations and all these.
So lost control with the private sector or the different companies that were working on things?
With everything involved in that. So basically it's like you're the president of the United States, right? You've compartmentalized it so much that you don't know what A is doing with B. You don't know if B is working with D. You don't know if D is working with E. You don't know who's working with what and who's doing what and how far they've come with what. And then eventually the president leaves and a new president comes in. He's not briefed on all these different departments or compartmentalizations, right? So he doesn't know what's going on, right? Or he does know, but not as much as the previous president. He leaves, another one comes in. Now he knows even less, right? Now he knows even less. And what happens is, enough of that.
You don't think they have a system in place that prevents that from happening?
I think they had a system in place that they thought worked, and it didn't. And it was like, okay, this person reports to the president. So how's everything going with this department? Oh, it's going good. What are you guys working on? You know.
But you would have thought that, like, after several presidencies, they would have been like, okay, we finally have a system that works, that makes sure that the next administration is able to, know what's happening.
And he was like, I want to make sure that, this thing gets put in the public and that people know what's going on.
And do you think that...
let me just finish answering that question. Though, and he was, and the guy who did that, he said, I want to make sure that nobody hides this and nobody knows, this, that, and the other. And, everybody's like, this JFK guy is making a lot of sense.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. We gotta get rid of this guy.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Wow.
So, the UFO stuff goes really deep. If you guys want me to talk about it in a more organized fashion than just like off the cuff a little bit, let us know, man. I would really do. There's a whole bunch of books out there that really do a good job with describing the whole alien thing and the whole, UFOs and all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's. I mean, if you think about it, man, in a short time span, we've had a lot of breakthroughs in technology.
So we had a lot of breakthroughs, but we didn't have. It seems like breakthroughs have stalled since like the 70s.
Yeah. The whole space program slowed down too.
And that's suspicious as well.
Do you think that has something to do with administration or with the aliens or?
So look, depends on what you believe. If you certain research leads you to something called the secret space program, where the space program never really did end. It really became advanced, but it became away from the public eye, and that's how they were able to develop these triangle-shaped UFOs. That's how they went. So there's this. You ever heard of the Tic Tac UFO?
No.
So there's this huge Tic Tac UFO. It looks like almost like a blimp, but it's not because the way it was moving, right? That is the equivalent of what you can call an aircraft carrier, but like a UFO form. And it can go in the water, it can go in space, it can go in the air. From that, you have triangle UFOs. They call them the TR-3Bs, okay? And the TR-3Bs, they're anti-gravity UFOs.
Are you sure you haven't worked on these projects?
No.
You're familiar with the terminology and everything?
No, dude. But yo, the TR, there's like
suspect, man.
No. There's the TR-3B Aurora. Then there's the TR-3B Astras. Then there's the TR-3As, like the fighter pilot version of those guys.
Yeah.
And they're carried on these what you can consider called the Tic Tac UFOs. And bro, like they have supposedly this entire space program, a secret space program where they've been mastered anti-gravity, they've been mastered all this stuff. It's just away from the public view. Because if you get free energy, CEOs who were involved in the initial founding of that, their companies don't get paid anymore. They don't make money.
I see.
But that depends on how conspiratorial you want to get.
Damn. So you think that we're past that? We're past having being efficient, self-efficient when it comes to
humanity,
renewable energy.
Humanity has passed that. I'm convinced. But that technology, and I get it. Everybody says the same thing. Oh, they're hiding secret technology. That technology has been been kept secret from us because people are not going to make money off of it anymore. And I think that when push comes to shove, if it gets to the point where we ran out of oil, somehow mysteriously somebody invents the technology.
Oh, I see. So they're just waiting for us to just get rid of
they're
trying
to squeeze as much fossil fuels out of that, and then they
transition to something else.
Yeah.
Sounds like EV cars. Like they're slowly, all these other companies are transitioning over to EV.
I think that there's a more like evil thing going on with that, with the EVs and with this whole global climate. That's the next book I'm going to read. It's going to be called. The book is called Unsettled or Settled or something like that. It's by I think by climate scientists who did used to work for like ExxonMobil and stuff. Yeah. Now I know people. You're like, oh, that's kind of biased. Like we've been hearing one side of the story for 20 years. You know what I mean? I want to hear what this guy says and why he thinks it's unsettled. I do think that this whole climate change thing, this climate emergency, is like another quote unquote bug emergency, right? Where they're trying to get people to change. Like, oh, you can't have gas stoves anymore. Everything has to be electric. Everything has to be. You know what I mean? It's like, when somebody starts fear-mongering, I immediately assume they're trying to control us. Because it's the same people who don't care about your health. It's the same people who don't care whether you live or die. Now, all of a sudden, they want you to change your life because they care about you. Suspicious to me, man.
Yeah, it's suspicious. Well, we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep talking about these UFO things because there's a lot I want to say about that.
Yeah.
I want, talk about the Majestic 12.
What's the Majestic 12, man?
Dude, the Majestic, it was like basically a human council.
Yeah.
That decides, what we're going to do with these aliens and stuff.
Wait, human council of all nations or human council of certain countries?
No, it's human council of scientists, engineers, and stuff like that. Now, where they come from is different.
Yeah.
It's like 12 of those guys. And they're like,
12?
Yeah, it's like, all right, so what we're going to do with this, what we're going to do with that, what we're going to do with this, blah, blah. And so I think that's my personal opinion.
And also, I have a question on, all the information you're getting this from, is it from books? Or?
Yeah. So the first book I would recommend anybody reading is, I just said in the beginning, In Plain Sight. In Plain Sight. The second book, it's a fiction book, but it's by Tom DeLonge from Blink-182.
Yeah.
He actually worked with some military guys on writing this book. It's called Secret Machines, Chasing Shadows, and it's a fiction story, but with supposedly some real elements of what happened, or what's happening right now. And then the second book of that is called Secret Machines: A Fire Within. All right, and then another book series is called I forgot the name. It's similar. It's parallel. I'll get it for you guys next week if you guys are interested. These are all good books, and they all describe certain things. So like some of these books will make references to actual events that occurred. Like one of these books made a reference to Montana Air Force Base, a nuclear silo, a missile base, right? Where there was a light, a beam, not a beam of light, like an orb that was in front of the gate of this facility and went through the gate of the facility and actually turned on the nuclear missiles and then turned them back off.
Wow. I've heard a lot of things that for some reason, whatever species or whatever aliens that are out there, they're like attracted to nuclear energy for some reason.
They don't want us to use it. They don't want us to use it because it somehow affects them. I don't know how. Like,
really?
Yeah. It's not that they. It's
Do
not.
you think it's harmful then to them, or?
Yeah. It's kind of. I don't know. It's not that they're trying to nuclear energy. Like, oh yeah, let me get that. Yeah, but it's more like, yeah, no, you guys can't use this. You guys are freaking our stuff up over here.
Oh, okay, I see. I don't know. I have like so many questions. It makes me wonder, like, maybe they are from Earth, right? Maybe they've always existed here, and this is their home planet as well.
Some people say the same. Some people say,
yeah.
So, I like the funny theory that the meteors didn't wipe out the dinosaurs. They just killed some of them, but they somehow evolved and they became one of these lizard people.
Oh wow!
And, that's an interesting theory, but that one I don't really believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures out there showing like politicians that might be like lizard people and stuff.
Yeah, I don't really believe all that stuff. Like up to the point that I believe is this: there are aliens or there are beings
that are not human.
Yeah. They could be interdimensional. They could be within Earth. They can come from within like caverns of Earth. They can come from space. Certain members of the government have been working with them.
You don't think they're out in the open, that they're able to like blend in?
Yeah, I do actually. I do think there are some hybrids walking among us that they kind of look human enough where they can be humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you think they're able to speak?
Yeah. They're able to do all that stuff.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think that certain members of government have been working with them. Some of them thinking like, hey, we can work with this, we can benefit humanity. Very few of them actually thought that, I think. Others are like, oh, we're getting ahead of our enemies here. And now they realize, like, wait a minute, these guys were the people we're not supposed to work with. What are we going to tell the Congress? That we lied under oath?
You think Congress members are aware?
One or two maybe are more privy than others about what's going on, but they're not fully aware. These guys lied under oath, lied to Congress for what? For national security. That turned out to be my bad. We thought these guys were our friends and they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. There's so many conspiracies out there, but it seems like now things are unfolding because people, they're so distracted with other things that when we mention certain things, like
I don't think they care.
Yeah, they just think about next thing. What's the next thing? Oh, Prince Charles or whatever.
I think they'll say aliens are real and they just won't care about it.
Yeah. So it will probably become the norm eventually, and you'll be able to come back to this video and reference this video and say, hey, we were the first ones to cover this, even though we're not, but
Well, yeah, no, guys, I really do suggest you look into Project Blue Beam.
Project Blue Beam. What's this?
I'm telling you,
you're well informed in this stuff. Bro. Are you sure you didn't work with them?
No. Looking back now, with what I know, I'm glad I don't think I would ever want to work with them. The things you'd find out, bro, the atrocities that might have been committed, dude, by humans and these creatures to other humans, dude.
Do you think there was any?
I wouldn't want to work. I'd rather go to church. I'm going to. I'm not. Go to church. Go to church.
I'm pretty sure there's good that came out of this, but like overall, it makes me wonder, what is the end goal? Is it what you said, that they want to like obtain what we have that they need to survive, or is it just like they're slowly trying to find a way how they could live on this planet because they lost their planet? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So everything that I see now going on seems like you heard it here first, folks. A soft invasion. You demoralize the population. You get them to stop having kids. You demoralize the men of the population.
Well, that sounds like this generation, man.
Dude, you demoralize the men of this population so they don't really fight back. We get them to stop wanting, like, the will, like, assisted self-deletion is actually now a thing. You're getting these people to self-delete themselves without firing a single shot.
That's insane.
Why would they do that? 2 reasons. They don't have the numbers, or they know that, like, if we get into a war with them, like, all right, if you guys are going to win, we'll launch all our nuclear weapons. We'll fly this entire planet out, and you guys can have the ashes. And they don't want that.
Wow.
But
if that's the case, don't you think certain people that are in power, because there's always a backup plan to everything. You don't think there's certain people that are in power that are aware of these aliens or whatever beings they are? They're like, okay, if everything goes west, we have a plan to, like, get rid of them or something.
Not people in power that we see on TV.
Oh, so
I think
like,
the people in power are the CIA,
deep government and all that.
Yeah, I don't even think there's the deep state. I think it's like the shadow government.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like you said, the CIA and stuff. I've heard that there's agencies out there that don't even have a name.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a name, so therefore, if they were ever to get captured or tortured, they would literally say, "I don't work for anyone," because it's the truth. They don't have a name. They were never given a name.
Yeah.
Nor titles or anything. It's just a job. This is your job. You do this, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, dude. So, CIA members of CIA members. So, I don't know if you know this, but the Navy has their own CIA equivalent.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I forgot what the
so
name
they have
was.
some sort of intelligence group?
Yeah, so because the CIA was just operating in such a way that they weren't giving them any information. So, like, we're going to make our own intelligence agency.
Really?
Yeah. I think the Air Force might have one. And the
Space Force? Do you think they have one?
Well, I don't know about the Space Force, but each branch of the military has, like, their own secret CIA version of things. You know what I mean? And because if you're like a general, right, and you call somebody and say, I need information on this, and you're the top brass, and they say, oh yeah, you can't know that. You're like, yo, who are you talking to, yo?
Yeah.
And you're not getting that information. Why?
So you just develop your own team?
You lobby Washington to say, yo, we need our own secret investigation thing because these guys are not giving us what we need, and our people are operating in the dark here without getting any information. And I'm not going to have more people lose their lives because somebody wants to be a scumbag and not give us anything. Eventually, these people find out things that they're not supposed to find out, and it goes from there, man. Yeah, we'll talk about Project Bluebeam next week, Project Blue Book. We'll talk about Project...
What's that?
No, it's a lot of stuff, dude. It's a lot of stuff. If you guys want us to talk more about UFOs and extraterrestrials and stuff like that, we
should definitely create, like, a separate playlist for this topic.
Depending on how good this is. Like, I do a lot of research on that. And we'll keep talking about it if you guys are interested. Even if you guys are not interested, we'll keep talking about it anyways. But, don't forget to follow our new channel.
Yeah, a new channel called the Jaycast Podcast.
Link in the description below. And we will upload this to both channels, and then you guys can subscribe to that one.
Yep. Just make sure to tune in, and we'll have more content for you. And, probably within, would you say, like, a month or two, we could probably do, like maybe have subject matter experts on.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could bring other people on, instead of having J&J on, we might bring on, some subject matter experts.
Yeah, like engineers.
Yeah, engineers,
coders.
finance.
Yeah.
Maybe someone from SPB could give us better insight on what happened. But, yeah.
Yeah, we might actually be able to bring on some coders, actually, some programmers and developers and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Could give us their day-to-day insight of what they do and how they got to where they are.
Yeah. So we want to bring you guys a lot of different stuff because it's interesting stuff. It's all over the place, everywhere.
Yeah, we just don't want you to, like, get information from us. We like you to have also professional and experts.
Right. And please, whatever we tell you guys, we're not experts in anything here. Please research what we tell you. We just like talking about it, and we figured, if we talk about this stuff anyways, we might as well just talk about it here too. So,
yep.
All right, guys, you guys have a good night,
and we'll see you next week.
All right, peace.